Welcome to Canadian Innovators, a show that celebrates innovation, entrepreneurs, and the Canadian spirit. I'm Jocelyn Bamford, and every week we introduce a new entrepreneur or expert in the economy to tell their stories and unpack the challenges of keeping jobs in Canada, as well as share ideas for economic growth and prosperity. Today on the program, we welcome back for part two journalist and friend of the program, Anthony Furey. We're going to talk about the economy, Trump tariffs, potential Western alienation, the Ring of Fire, and special economic zones. Welcome back to the program, Anthony.
Good to be here, Jocelyn.
We have a lot to cover today. President Trump has recently announced tariffs on aluminum steel will be increased up to 50% starting June 11th, 2025. Anthony, what is this going to mean to Canada?
Well, I hope I'll be given a free pass for being able to give an I don't know answer because I think people have now learned that that's the acceptable answer to a lot of these questions around the Trump tariffs. Because we have seen that there are various countries that have worked out a deal with the White House in terms of how to deal with these tariffs, get them managed to assess, what's the real problem here with their trading relationship? What can we do in terms of tweaking this or that agreement to get a deal that's deemed fair, if not entirely fair by both parties, at least something that both parties are willing to work with and willing to live with. Originally, there was the suggestion that one just needed to try and sort of economically blockade the U.S. I know a lot of people in Canada had that position, but I mean, good luck with that because the original refrain is that the U.S. is the elephant and Canada is the mouse. So a lot of the elbows up energy from the campaign about how we have to fight the U.S. on all of this and teach them a lesson and so on. I think that maybe felt good to some people in terms of a political gesture, but it's not really workable from an economic sense. So I think what we're going to see is a lot more measured conversations happening between the prime minister's office and the White House on how we can make things work here to address these concerns. It's interesting, Jocelyn, to see these clips surface of Donald Trump speaking critically about the global trading system back in it's like clips on the Oprah Winfrey show or shows like that from like the late 80s or the early 90s. That whatever you think of Donald Trump's economic views, this is not something that he's pulled out of a hat just yesterday. He's held these views for decades. So this is something that he's been wanting to do for some time. So to take the negotiations serious and try and find a way where we can get a win for Canadian businesses. And there's some optimism that Mark Carney is going to at least approach the deal making much more seriously than say Justin Trudeau would have done, but it all remains to be seen.
Absolutely, and we're more to come on that. Let's shift our focus to Western alienation and the resource sector. There's been a lot of talk that for Albertans, if the federal government continues to obstruct Alberta from getting their resources to market, that this would be a deal breaker for Alberta remaining in Confederation. Do you think this separation movement in Alberta has any legs?
Yeah, I think it absolutely does. I mean, the Quebec separation movement very much had legs. And as we learned in, I think it was 1995, it was almost 50% in terms of voting for that. Albertans are very frustrated in terms of feeling disrespected, that they have this great economic engine of the nation right in their backyard, in their own home, and yet they're not allowed to bring it to market in the same way that so many other countries, most other countries around the world are. And I think one of the reasons why, one of the key reasons why Donald Trump has been able to say, you know what, I'm just going to swallow you guys up into being the 51st state is because a lot of people have identified Canada from like a business sense as an underperforming asset. We're like a penny stock, but we have a lot of assets behind us. Why have we devalued our corporate entity? Why are we so mismanaged that someone like Donald Trump thinks he can scoop us up in a fire sale? Well, in part because we have all these assets that Donald Trump sees as valuable, that people around the world, we know China sees our minerals as very valuable and our natural resources, and yet we don't see it as valuable. Albertans do, and that's why some of them say, well, let's just get out of here, go solo, or maybe they would be the first contender to join America and become a state themselves. And then maybe Donald Trump would go, oh, okay, I've got the oil and gas. I don't really need the rest of Canada. I'm happy. So I'm going to take Alberta. So, let's be very careful here in terms of how we deal with this. We need national unity. I think Mark Carney sees that. However, his past rhetoric being very aggressive on net zero puts a lot of that at risk. So he's really got to tread carefully here. And we all should, because if we lose Alberta's oil and gas, well, good luck to the rest of us because it's so important to Canada.
So we're going to go to break. More when we continue with Anthony Furey on Canadian Innovators. Don't go away.